my favorite on the album, again, this is my first listen. Well, when I first listened, I've listened to it obviously a few times now, is I don't think that I like her. And I love the line, for me, the stars are lining, but for her, it's bad timing. Because you think about the amount of people that's just been like, the timing's not right for me. But then in your mind, you're like, no, this was perfect.
It has drums by Travis Barker on it. That's like the biggest. I'll pick up that name that I just dropped.
Hey friends, it's your girl, Emily Curl. We have something special for you today. We are hanging out with artist Charlie Puth as we celebrate his new album, Charlie. Charlie, it's good to see you again.
Very, very good to see you as well.
First and foremost, congratulations. The album is out. How are you feeling?
It's like a release. It took a lot of grueling hours to make this record. Essentially, myself with a very small group of people. So I'm happy that many more people get to listen to it now.
I mean, you know what's interesting? I was thinking about the last time I saw you, and it was on Zoom. We were playing our fan versus artist trivia, where you went head to head in trivia about yourself with your biggest fan, and the fan won, of course. But I feel like that speaks to, you know, your relationship and connection that you have with the fans. And I also feel like we got to follow along a little bit of this album's creation. Was it always your intention to keep the fans involved?
It was always my intention to keep the fans involved after I made Light Switch and realized that it was a good idea to do it, because their involvement and just their vibe, knowing that they're listening to the creation of it, adds a whole lot to the finishing of the record, if that makes sense. And I want them to feel like they wrote the songs with me. That way, now that the album's out, they were like, oh, I was there when he came up with that little noise, or I was here eating a sandwich when he came up with that piano part.
And let's talk about the title too first, Charlie. How did you decide that's what you wanted to call this album?
Believe it or not, my record label had Julie Greenwald told me to name the album after myself, which I know is an unusual thing. The record label usually isn't naming the person's album, but I just thought that was a really wonderful idea, so I took it and ran with it.
Well, I got a chance to listen to the album, and there's nothing quite as special as that first listen through. And I feel like it's typical Charlie, where we have some cool production, some catchy lyrics, but we also have this like vulnerable, raw side too. What was going on in this time in your life when you were creating?
I think the best way to describe it, without like naming too specific of details, because you know you don't want to like be vindicative, but when you part ways with a person romantically and in a business sense, the two seem like polar opposites, but they actually give you that same feeling, that bittersweet feeling of, oh, I've spent a lot of time with this person, I've learned a lot about myself, I've grown as a human. And some relationships have ended in a positive way in my life, and you still have that melancholic kind of parting ways, walking away into the sunset kind of feeling. And due to the nature of the pandemic, I wasn't able to get with a huge group of people and talk about my feelings. I had to really sit with myself and have a lot of conversations with myself to make this album. And that's how all these lyrics came about. So I'd say that this album lyrically focuses a lot about the saying goodbye to things that were once comfortable in your life and moving on and becoming stronger in the end.
Yeah, and how important was that order for the track list? Because there's a couple, like there's some really sentimental ones. We start with Charlie Be Quiet. There's a First Time for Everything.
Yeah.
Were you in love at this point? Were you playing with imagination? And how important was that order for the album?
The order is definitely predetermined, of like chronologically of how everything was going in my life. That's hilarious. Is the record that started off it set the stage for the entire record, and literally was one of the first songs that I made for the album. And it was, of course, what the song is sung about is what I was going through at the time. And then Charlie Be Quiet it's not about someone telling me to be quiet, but telling my mind to be quiet, me telling myself that I can't overthink everything. Everything's going to work out the way that it's supposed to. And then Light Switch is the song that is maybe me going to the club and just getting my mind off of things, and it's about nothing. It's just about having a good time. But experiencing things for the first time, there's a first time for everything. A song about me. um, being up late at night, 2:00 in the morning, and forcing myself to put my phone down, and then seeing that person on vacation that I was in business with, and thinking about it's what I should have said to you. I hope your jacket smells like me. It's such a weird lyric, but it's thinking about all the things that you could have said to that person. Loser, self-deprecating anthem. When I'm sad, you're sad. When you're stuck in like a manipulative relationship, like quicksand, and the deeper you go, the more comfortable you feel, but like you can't get out of it. Marks on my neck, when you're physical with somebody and there's a mark on your neck and that person moves on, you don't see them ever again, and the mark also fades away, just like the memory of them. And I always thought that parallel was interesting. Maybe a bit too TMI, but I don't think.
But people can relate, though. Yeah,
people can relate. All of these songs that I'm naming off right now are oddly specific, but I'm not the only person who has gone through something like this.
Can I tell you my favorite too? My favorite on the album, again, this is my first listen. Well, when I first listened, I've listened to it obviously a few times now, is I don't think that I like her. And I love the line, for me, the stars are lining, but for her, it's bad timing. Because you think about the amount of people that's just been like, the timing's not right for me. But then in your mind, you're like, no, this was perfect.
It has drums by Travis Barker on it. That's like the biggest. I'll pick up that name that I just dropped. He added so much. He added so much to this record, just for the overall drum feel. And I every song on this album sonically comes from a place of me wanting to combine two unlikely things and making a song out of them. So music that people might not guess that I listen to a lot: Weezer, Buddy Holly, songs with a lot of chord changes in them and that go down in a stepward motion like the Beatles, but combine it with Weezer, and then combine it with all of this that I use on my music all the time, all these typical
I recognize from TikTok. Yep.
Yes, all of that stuff, you stick it together, one unlikely thing with a likely thing, and then you get a record like I Don't Like Her. And it's just it's a song that you can take all the drums away and just play it on piano, and it sounds like a classical piece of music, which I like a lot. And lyrically, that song is about just, it didn't work out. I didn't like it anyway. I didn't like being with that person anyway. It's fine. I'm fine. It's you're kind of a lot of these songs are about me maybe being in denial, or about somebody being in denial about how they really feel. Using that as a coping mechanism to make it to the very end of the album, to a song right after I Don't Like Her Anymore, called No More Drama.
You know I had to bring that one up.
Yeah, there's no more drama. I've closed the door on that chapter. I'm ready.
Do you feel like you actually have, though?
Yes. Now that I've made this album, the next album I make after this can be the love song album, and you can hear me coming to that realization on this album.
Charlie, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations again on the album. It's always so good to see you.
Always so good to speak to you. Thank you again for the support. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Did you like that video? You can check out more over here. And don't forget to subscribe to iHeart right here. And if you're already a longtime fan, make sure you ring the bell down below so you don't miss a single video. Bye guys.